What's up, guys? Welcome back to DCA. So what we're going to do in this video is take a look at this crash for Bitcoin that's happening right now. So here on East Coast time, it's 11 p.m. and we're seeing Bitcoin has dropped below 35,000. Earlier today, I actually made a video where I had these trend lines drawn out, and we were sitting above this longer term trend line that we've been forming ever since back here in June of 2021. And I was talking about how, you know, potential locations where we could get a bump. So I made this video and I was going to come on and edit it tonight and then post it later this evening. Within, just an hour or two of making that video, I didn't even have time to get to editing because we fell below that trend line. So kind of what I stated in that video was the fact that there's two likely locations where we could see Bitcoin sort of get a relief rally from here. And if we don't get a relief rally at one of these positions, things could potentially get pretty ugly because of the fact that a lot of the market now is run by algo bots. If a major price level is broken, these bots will trigger their sell signal and, they'll just automatically sell regardless of, what the situation is. And, I think that's kind of what we saw here. So right when we dropped below this trend line right here that we've been, ever since June of 2021, then we came back to it in July, then we came back down to it here in January, nearly got there in February while we were making these consecutive higher lows. All right. So we'd been making higher lows here, basically since June of 2021. And we fell below that tonight. So we've fallen below a trend line that's been almost at this point, almost a year in the making. So the next point that we were looking at then, which if we fall below this level, this is kind of where in the video I made, I was talking about, I'm worried if we fall below this level. I'm worried about what could happen. But I also think that there's a decent percent chance that we get a bump off of this level. And that's right here. We're talking about this level here right at around $34,300 because that's where this low was. So you can see that low was at 34,324, right? And if we fall below that level, if we fall below this level, that is officially going to be that's going to be a lower low. So it will just be a complete invalidation of the structure that we've been forming. So if you look at this candle, we came right down to that level. And now what we're going to have to see is if we get a bump off of this level. Can we hold this level? And if we don't, then, things could get dicey in a quick way. And I think, based on all of the sentiment that I'm seeing on social media, I'm seeing so many people and, it's always tough to tell. It's tough to tell what the true gauge is from, the retail market because there's such an incentive in this space to sort of always be bullish and just always have positive things to say, whether they're real or not. So, that's obviously who you're seeing the tweets from are going to be these content creators that are somehow always bullish and, they're always telling you you're at the bottom and a huge reversal is coming, etc., regardless of what the situation is. But we've talked about on this channel the macro picture and how, you need to be prepared for what potentially could happen to this market. And I think there's more downside than a lot of people are potentially anticipating. All right. And you're already seeing that, right? You're seeing that Bitcoin has fallen from, 48K down to where we're sitting at now, just north of 34.5. And ultimately this, at any given point in time, this could be the bottom. But, you have to appreciate the fact that as the general market is becoming more risk off, that is going to extend over to Bitcoin. All right. So, This is going to be, in my opinion, though, a critical level. It's going to be an important, and I don't do a lot of technical analysis discussion on this channel. I do some, but it's mostly regarding longer term trends. But in terms of a local price level that I think is actually going to be important is this level right here. So if we get, a weekly close below this level, I think you could sort of see a cascade event. Now, with that said, it is the weekend and sort of crazy things can always happen on the weekend. So you have to take sort of what happens here with a grain of salt. But I think a lot of what's happening right here and what you're seeing is going to be influenced as long as things don't get chaotic, throughout the rest of the night and then into Sunday. As long as things stay relatively calm, kind of where they're at right now, and we don't get some huge shakeup, a lot of what happens here is going to depend on what happens in the stock market. All right. So on Monday, if we're still sitting around this level, or say we're sitting at around $35,000, and the stock market opens up strong, say NASDAQ, specifically NASDAQ, because I think you're seeing that the crypto market at the moment is being valued very similar to that of a tech stock. If we open up strong on the market, I think you'll see a nice bounce off of this level. But if on Monday, I would anticipate that if on Monday the markets open up and they're red and things start to get ugly in the general market, I think you're going to see some true chaos that people aren't ready for. And then the narrative on social media is going to shift to, it's kind of already this, but best buying opportunity ever. I'm all in right now. I know that we're going to turn around. This is the low, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, if you guys have been in the crypto game for more than, a couple months, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In the video I made yesterday, I showed how the capitulation has begun. I showed how, we've had a huge number of individuals selling the asset, but they're not coming from old hands. They're not, people that have been holding the asset for a long time. They're coming from people that bought in this, bought the top, and people that bought, quote unquote, bought the dip. They're the people that, are listening to, George tell you to buy the dip every single time there's a dip, right? So we're seeing capitulation from those people now. And that's, going to continue to have an effect on these markets. And that's only going to intensify because you have a huge number of coins being held by individuals who purchased up in this 52K all the way up to, all the way up to 68K. And then there's a second cohort of individuals holding kind of right in this range from, mid 40s all the way to around 50K. So you have two huge cohorts of holders that are either new long-term holders. So they just sort of FOMO'd in this market cycle, and they've been holding strong so far, but there's so much negative news now and there's so much anticipation of an impending bear market. I mean, you would never even see the word bear market on Twitter a month ago. And now, it's probably the most commonly used phrase by content creators. These people now are starting to panic. And this isn't, me just saying that. I showed the data yesterday. You can go on that video and watch. But as this price, if things start to get ugly right here, I mean, you're going to see, I just have a feeling you're going to see chaos. So the last thing we'll just quickly talk about are where are our lower levels of support at. We have a decent amount of support all the way down to around 32K. There are a large number of longer term holders, and especially you have a lot of your bigger bag holders down at 32K. Okay, so these are big institutional types that came in and bought in heavy at these locations down here. So you have a lot there, and at I think 29K, it's like 28 or 29K, might be in between. So you have all the way down to 32K, and then another, right at around 29K. So Below that though, below that, and if you don't want to believe it, that's fine, and you very, very well may be right. But below that, there's no real support basically until you get down towards 20K. These are kind of the things we need to watch for. We need to see if we can in fact get a bump off of this 34.3 level, this 34.3K level. And if the markets, I'm just telling you, if the markets are coming out red on Monday and we're already hanging around this zone, things could get bloody. If we're still hanging around this zone and the markets come out positive or perhaps even neutral, you could see a bump off of this level, and we could see sort of a small relief rally. But if this thing drags on, if this bear market drags on, if the general market doesn't sort of improve from here, you can forget about this level because we're going down from there. It's just, we just are, guys. We could even kind of sit around between this, this 28, whatever, up to around 47K. We could sit in that range for some time. But the longer it goes on, the longer this bear market goes on, the more patience that people that are holding up here, they're going to lose their patience because you have a ton of coins. You have a huge quantity of the Bitcoin supply being held in this danger range, quite frankly. You have so many people holding right around here, this 43 up to around 68K. All right. So you have a ton of people holding in this range, and you're seeing them start to capitulate, and it's only going to intensify the longer it goes on and the more negative sentiment becomes. So this is what we need to watch. This is what I'm preparing for. And, my goal on this channel is to get you mentally prepared for the market as it is, not as we want it to be. What we want doesn't matter. We need to approach the market objectively and understand that the macro situation right now, the geopolitical situation, it's just ugly. It just is. Okay. So we have to, as investors, face it, trying to understand the situation as it is. And this is a part of being an investor. You can't on one hand be willing to invest in an asset that's up 2,000% over the last less than 3 years, and then not be willing to accept the fact that people are going to be taking profits or capitulating. So you're going to have in this crypto market, even in Bitcoin, which at the end of the day is going to be one of your more stable assets, you're going to have the high highs and you're going to have the low lows. It's just the name of the game, guys. So, unfortunately, it looks like we're sitting in that less fun part of the market right now. And this is what we've been talking about for months. And this is what we've been trying to prepare people for. It's an uphill battle because there's so much disinformation out there. But I think people are starting to, finally realize that you can't just always be bullish. And just because, people that ostensibly are informed about the markets are constantly saying new all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high. That's just not how it works, guys. So we'll see what happens here. I cannot stress enough the importance of this level. It's going, in my opinion, this will be a very important level. So we'll see what happens. And that's going to be it for this one, guys. Until next time, as usual, see you.